Hey, welcome back, everybody. And the real question is, did housing just become more affordable? And as we take a look at this chart, hang on. Let's get the show on the road. All right, so here's the funny thing. When we talk about affordability, which has been horrific for a lot of folks trying to get into the industry, and not into the industry, into a home. And the tough part is that when we take a look at mortgage rates versus appreciation versus, what is the available inventory and how is that rolling into what people can buy? Because like last year, everybody was saying, oh, we're going to go down. And I kept saying, nay, we're actually going to see about a 4 to 6% appreciation, in which we did. Okay. This year, we're predicting about 8%. And yes, right now is that influx. We're starting to see that happen. In fact, one of our clients made an offer on a house, started off at 1.9. They decided, hey, let's go to, a little bit higher. Well, they want a wee bit higher, a couple of $100,000 higher. And they were beat out by someone who went a couple of $100,000 higher than that. We had, and we're seeing multiple offers come to the forefront again. Why? Because people are acclimating and understanding that this is situation normal for mortgage rates. And that is super important. Now, when we take a look at what has happened, what happened this week that started to make this shift and is starting to give us the, hey, is this affordable? Well, let's go through that. So let's open up that chart again. And it says here, when we take a look at the 30-year fix, listen, we were basically the same as what we were back in December as far as rate. And that means that we're heading kind of back down. And as long as we start getting good numbers, because what you see below here, it says Thursday morning brought the producer price index. Now, understand, and what's super important to understand, there are really three key metrics that the feds watch, which then they open up their mouths and start talking, which then affects what the bonds do. Because remember, mortgage rates are publicly traded based on the bond rate. Watch your 10-year treasury. The feds, they do not control mortgage rates. They only control your home equity line of credit, a HELOC, which is a short-term note, your car loan, short-term note, credit card payments, short-term note, what banks lend to each other on a day-to-day basis, short-term. They only adjust their price once every 6 weeks. Super important to understand. So when they talk about getting inflation down to the 2% mark, there are certain things that they look at. And that's part of what we're looking at here. And that's what happened on Wednesday, where we spiked because CPI numbers came in bad. But yet the next day, we saw some improvements. And what was that improvement? Well, here we go. We call the producer price index. Super important to watch, which is similar to CPI, but for the wholesale side of things. It's a better metric that the actual feds watch. It's extremely rare to see the PPI actually create movement within the interest rate, mortgage interest rate arena, except for when we see some pretty significant disparity. And we did this time. And so that way we saw a spike on Wednesday, whoop, and then we came back down on Thursday because of the metrics that came out and people feeling more confident. And in fact, so much so that a lot of the folks that predict where rates are going to go, they made some adjustments that are going to affect you over the next 2 weeks in a positive way. So we're going to probably continue to see mortgage rates, kind of come down a little bit more and a little bit more. But let's hold off on that one until we see Freddie, and let's take a look at some of our top news. So in the upper left, you can see refi demand at a 3-month high. A lot of that's, again, because we're starting to see mortgage rates consistently being down lower. Bottom left, mortgage rates completely reversed yesterday's spike. We just discussed that. And then, of course, as you can see on the right, that's the publicly traded chart that you see there, where, again, we are down basically 0.8, brought us down, into the high sixes again. And realistically, we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that trend continue in a lower rate. Will we hit the fives this year? when we mean the fives, meaning a high 5%, if we do, it will be brief. I do not see us going at all this year going below 5.75. And that's no different when we predicted, September, October of last year. But I do think that we're going to get down into the low sixes, mid sixes, somewhere in there. And again, once we get below 6.75, a lot of buyers start coming out of the woodwork because there's a big, still massive pent-up demand. All right, let's keep moving on. When we talk about Freddie, right, we said, hey, what's going on with Freddie? So Freddie, their running 7-day average is 6.875. But look at that. We're only 0.1 higher than where we were at a year ago. And that's a big deal. And you might say, George, why is that a big deal? That's a big deal because remember, we were almost a full percent higher than where we were, based on some of the spikes from the Feds doing their reduction, and it adversely affected long-term mortgage rates. Now, because they have not been making that change, because we got a little bit of a mixed bag the last time the Feds met, which again, they didn't drop rate. This time we started to get maybe not great information. Then we got really good information, which then, of course, brought the rates back down. So that will stay that way foreseeably for the next week or so. And I think we'll see a reduction in rates. Now, granted, they bobble up and down every day, but I think on the whole, we will continue to see that better rate happening, okay? So when we translate that, we say, okay, well, what does that mean in the real estate market, right? So on the left-hand side there, you can see that we're still holding at 97% of list price, meaning that if we listed $100,000, the homes are selling at $97,000, right? 97%. Our days on market are up 5 days, which is seasonally normal. You can see on the left hand there, it was just 50. And that is a normal cycle that we see there. Now, on the right hand side, as we take a look at our running 7-day average, we had 760 homes that came on market. And we had 898 that went off market. Now, what's super interesting about that is the fact that even though we had some snow and some ugly weather and whatnot, funny enough, people kept marching forward, just not quite as much. Folks don't like to drive in the slippery, slimy snow, and that's the 3 S's, I guess, slippery, slimy snow. Anyway, that is the pullback, because normally we were seeing in the 900s. It doesn't mean because we dipped into the high 8s that people are running away. It was just inclement weather, because funny enough, showings and everything else and homes going off market still happened. Okay. All right. If we continue forward and we take a look at what is going on in the market, let's open that back up. Again, as you can see, our inventory seasonally normal. You can see from the left, and that translates to the right. And you can see if we went back 20 years, you would see the wave. Okay. And the wave is normal. So here's what's super interesting. And when we take a look at the average for sale price and the average sold price, okay, so let's blow those numbers up. The top chart, which is the year to date, we're getting far enough into the year that this actually starts to make a little bit of sense. The average for sale price actually went up $5,000 over last week at $965,000. The average for sale price. Now, the average sold price year to date is up about $2,000 over last year. Or over last week, however, up 4.4% over last year. So already we're quote unquote seeing that positive direction as far as pricing, which I think we'll continue to see that. On the bottom one, that's the month over month, for 2024 and 2025. Again, we saw a 5% increase in the average for sale price, but for the month of February, we lost $2,000 from last week. Last week it was $823,000, and this week it's $821,000. Now, that doesn't mean that we're heading down. That goes up and down all the time. The reason that we watch it each week is it gives us trend. We can watch that metric so you guys can make a really good decision. You see, They're still talking about things that happened in December and part of January. We're in the middle of February. You don't need to know what was happening then. You need to know what's happening now so that you can respond to it. This is how we're able to, again, keep our predictions and that good, solid information rolling forward for you. And there's no marketing. There's no paid advertising here. We just give you really good information. That's my humble opinion. All right, so moving on. So when we take a look at the actual volume of business, right? So this is super interesting, and it's important to understand because sometimes we look at numbers and we go, whoa, inventory's up 30.4%. Holy mackerel. Okay, so hang on a second. That's not that big of a deal, right? In fact, let's move this over to a bigger chart. It's not a big deal. It's only 65 homes, and that's 3/4 of Washington State. All right. So when we're talking about the actual volume of homes that have come on market versus new on market versus sold versus pending, again, we're dealing with relatively small numbers at this point, and it's not. It is not monumental in any way. In fact, to have 68 more homes, 65 more homes on market this week than last week, that's peanuts. There's more cities than that. Small. Anyway, with that being said, though, again, it just lets people know that, hey, our spring market is in swing. We're starting to see more activity from resale homes, existing home sales, or homes going on market, along with, the new construction is continuing to bop along, which we'll hit that chart here shortly. But nonetheless, when we take a look at the number of homes just in the month of February 2024 and 2025, look at that. We're down 178 homes, technical. So last year we had more homes coming on market by 178 at this point in time in February than we did this year, right? But we have 149 more homes that went pending. That is super important because as you start to see those numbers, really at the end of the day, they're balancing. Hey, we've got a little bit more inventory. Excuse me. We have a few more sales. Yeah, we didn't have as many coming on market. Again, not abnormal. Again, we had some inclement weather that came into play that I am sure had some impact on it. But remember, this is across 3/4 of Washington State. So that's, again, we're pretty much, what? All things considered, it's pretty boring. There's nothing exciting that's happening. We don't have massive swings. We're not seeing massive drops. We're not seeing massive increase in inventory. It's just kind of rolling along like this, right? It's being out on a lake with a little bit of wave. Not even a wave, a ripple, okay? Not like some of the other areas, not like some of the reports that are coming out that they're saying, hey, we have 3.5 months of inventory, and we're not even there. We're not even at, I think we're right at 2 months, which has been our normal. Between 2.5 months has been our situation normal for the last 10 years. And I don't foresee anything crazy happening. Come March, April, yeah, we're going to see another big influx as spring rolls around, and that becomes our best buying season. But right now, these numbers, because they're so tiny, any amount of change, like you'll see with the REOs, any tiny couple of changes has a big impact because our numbers are small. Perspective. Keep watching the show. Write your comments down below what you think. Hey, if you don't agree with me, definitely want to hear with you what you have to say. I love hearing what people's opinions are. Anyway, moving on. All right. So when we take a look at this, we move on to new construction. Here's the interesting thing. So when we talk about, again, active price versus average sold price, right? Look at this. Year to date, average sold price from last week is actually down $23,000. Now, that's not a big deal because it was $65,000 the week before. And all right, so I'm back and had no idea what happened there. Everything just disappeared. So let's finish the show here. Let's get hopefully we'll purge the rest of that out. Now, when we were talking about new construction, we were talking about what was happening as far as the number of homes that were on the market, what our pricing is doing each week. And here's the funny thing. So even though we're down $23,000 for the actual pricing as far as homes that sold. Remember, last week we were up 65,000. So again, it's not a metric that when you look at it says, oh my gosh, the market's tanking. Not at all. I mean, last year we were boomed, and this year or this week we're bust. Well, that's not the case. Depending on the home pricing, depending on the value of what's going on with a specific home or a plat of that specific week, it just tells you what's going on. The key thing is that as we're looking at it, we're seeing a consistent, normal pattern of what's coming on market, what's going off market, how long is it staying on market, and what is it doing next? Because as we come over and we take a look at the actual volume of homes, and we'll see that this week actually it's a lot better than it was last week. Why? Because when we take a look at the year to date, this week we're only 11.8%, or basically just shy of 12%, as far as the number of pended homes year to date. Last week we were at 12.5% in the less homes. Now we're 11.8%. And so that again is an improvement. And still, understand, new construction is very sluggish so far the start of this year. Some of it is based on rate. Some of it is based on just the time of year as people start kind of rolling and getting into the groove of, hey, I think it's time for me to buy a home. Now, are builders still offering a ton of incentives? Absolutely, hands down. We saw a bunch of them today. And make sure that you're working with an agent that knows how to negotiate those and just doesn't look at the price and, oh yeah, they're not going to budge on price. There are incentives. There are ways to get value into a home other than price. Just understand, builders don't like to play with price. Just saying. All right. So when we bring this back up and we take a look at the same month year over year, look, it's at 26.2% last week. Well, we're only off 15.1% this week. Well, what does that mean? That means that we actually saw an improvement of the pending homes for February. All right, well, understand that when we take a look, even though we had some inclement weather, we still, again, had people out there moving and shaking to purchase their next home. Our numbers technically are absolutely rock solid. Now, when we head into the big one, we talk about bank-owned homes. All right. So it's funny because I had a couple of conversations with some of the lenders that we work with. And, they were saying, okay, George, what the heck is going on? There's a lot of information out there. And, my response to that is, hey, listen, our notice of trustee sale is low. Now, there are some guys out there that are saying, oh, yeah, notice of default, foreclosures are on their way up. Washington State, that's BS, because they don't publish notice of defaults here. You only get a notice of trustee sale. So somebody could be in default or missing their payments or becoming what we call 90-day delinquent or severe delinquency. That could definitely be happening in some areas. And it probably is to a degree because it is situation normal. It's not crazy abnormal. And in fact, you can't even, those metrics are typically 8 months, 6, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months behind. And so when we were talking about, towards the middle end of 2024, they were still showing metrics from 2023. And that's the thing. So what we look at really at the end of the day are the notice of trustee filings. Those are the ones that, hey, the bank and the borrower just at an impasse and they need to do something. All right. So keep that in mind. And our notice of trustees sales is very low, super low. It's like 2%, super low. Anyway, just saying. All right, moving on. So when we pop back in and we take a look at this, and we'll start taking a look at our metrics. Again, this is the total number of foreclosures that you see between really Marysville all the way down, to Puyallup, Parkside, things like that, just shy of Olympia. That one that you see in the bottom left is Olympia. You can tell, I mean, there's just hardly anything out there, which is good. That is awesome. And when we take a look at the actual numbers, listen, this is what I was saying, that a tiny number can have a massive impact, right? So as an example, when we take a look at the month of February, it says, hey, listen, you know what? I could say that, pendant sales for REOs was up 64%. Well, that's 9 homes. That's nothing, right? Year to date, it's 24 home difference, 5 homes more sold. But look, 20, we've got 23%, almost 24% increase in foreclosures. That's 15 homes. That's nothing. And so that's super important to understand. What is even more important to understand, even for sellers today, this is a classic example. And understand, when we talk about time on market, okay, with REOs, with bank-owned homes, you really can't pay attention to the days on market. You have to throw it out the window, because they have to meet the investor, the actual owner of the property, not the servicer, but the actual investor of that property. And they have to prove to them that they truly tried to get best price. And so they, most of the time, they're overpriced when they come on market. And because we have so few, and because we're in the top 5 areas for the sweet spot of home sales, look, they don't discount. They do paint, carpet, vinyl. They put them out on the market. They overprice them. And then if it doesn't sell, then they bring it down until they do. And in this circumstance, you can see that that's in the 93, 94 percentile. Last week it was 91%. And that's meaning of list price. So if you list at $100,000 and it sells at 92% of list price, that's sold for $92,000. All right, there we go. Inventory is doing its normal, typical, tiny bit of increase. Seasonally normal. Is it outrageous? No. To have a total of actual 79 homes on market, that's a small number, and nothing to be really concerned about. We're not heading into real estate Armageddon. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Post everything down below. Smash that subscribe button. Let us know what you think. And in the meantime, have an absolutely beautiful day. And I will talk to you later. Take care.